I've got a scar on my lower gut, on my belly, if you wish, and I like grew up in Nottingham, quite a violent place. So if you've come out of there without a scar, you've done pretty good. And I was out with a few friends one day, just hanging around, chilling, listening to music and that kind of thing. And some of the local thugs or yobs kind of appeared. And this is like perfectly normal for our kind of people, because we always get like people coming up to us and starting things. So we thought nothing of it. But then a couple of them started like beating up my friends, so we had to run away like we do. And I started to run, but one of them got me, and he pulled a knife on me. This is again quite normal for Nottingham. It's not anything extreme, but you know, it's quite scary when you first like pulls the knife and then you don't quite know what's going to happen next. And then there was a small Stanley knife kind of thing, and it like flipped out, and he kind of lodged it into my side, and that was possibly the most painful experience of my life, and which of course I relate to this scar every time I see it or think about it, or someone touches it by accident or something. And then he just like pulled it out and just left me. So a couple of my friends helped me out. They picked me up and got the yob away, took me to the car and drove me to the hospital straight away. And I went to hospital for like 2 or 3 days, get some stitches. I've got this like gaping scar on my side. And yeah, that's pretty much the story of how I got the scar. And this is just, I got it must be about 6 years ago now, maybe 7. It's quite young.
First scar I want to talk about is the one on my leg. It's on my left inside leg here. It's now about 4 or 5 inches long. It happened when I was 3 years old. I was walking along a little wall, which probably wasn't more than a foot, 2 foot high, and I fell and I cut my leg all the way down from my knee all the way up to my groin on a rock, and sheared it open. It was about 1 inch thick by the end of it, and I had to be taken to hospital, like one does. And because I have a skin condition, they couldn't stitch it. And therefore I was left with this long scar for about 6 weeks, which slowly healed. The other thing is because where we lived in Africa, Britain had sanctions against us, so we didn't have the medical facilities to have the special stitches. So because of that, I had a bandage which regularly kept on falling off, like any 3-year-olds do. They pull things off, and it's healed very badly. It has shrunk because I've got bigger, but it's a raised scar, and therefore it is called a keloid scar, so it has a funny round form, and when it's really cold it goes very red and very hard and very solid, which basically a lot of my scars are. Next scar I can think about is, let me see, my knee. I have brittle bone disease, and I regularly fall over and break arms, legs and everything else. And I have a gash again on my left leg where I went straight over the handlebars because I was trying to learn to jump over the curb, and again split my knee, but again was not allowed stitches, so I've got a nice sort of thick rubbery, looks a bit like a squashed worm on my knee.
I've got 2 scars on my left arm from an accident I did at gymnastics. I went to go and do a front somersault, but I stopped doing it halfway through, and I put my arms out in front of me to break my fall, but I cracked one bone, and then the other bone broke in 2 places, and so the bone was floating around in the skin. It didn't pierce the skin, but when I got to hospital, I had to have 2 plates put in to hold it together rather than a cast. It meant I had to stay in hospital for about 3-4 days before I could leave, because there was problems with what day the surgery was scheduled for.
My next biggest scar after that is I have a 4-inch scar on my back. I suffer, at the age of 15, I broke my back in gymnastics and in doing ballet, and I was also born with scoliosis, so my spine broke in half, and for 15 years I walked around with a broken back and nobody knew about it. I have since then spent nearly 8 years having it fixed. I've had 12 procedures on my back where they put screws and cement and coral and more metal and carbon fibre in. And so I've got a really thick scar. It's amazing how small it is, because you think because of the size of the operations they'd have a huge scar, but they're very good at stretching skin. But my family always call it my builder's bum, because of course it sticks out the top of my trousers, and it's sort of a bit of a laughing thing in our family. But it's quite, again, it's become, because of my funny skin condition, it's become quite thick and worm-like and solid, and it's sort of very prominent when it gets cold, and especially in the summer. It, of course, will go bright pink when the rest of me goes brown. I have another one, though, which is longer than that, but is newer, and that's on my front, which basically goes from my tummy button all the way down, because when they were doing one of these 12 procedures, they decided to try to attack my spine from the front of me, not the back of me. And so they had to go through everything, through my gut, through my intestines, everything, to clear a space to get through to the back, to put metal in that way, because they couldn't put the metal in from when I was lying down. They had to come from the other side to get to the other side of the spine. And that's a funny, I always tease my surgeon about that, because it's not straight. It gets so far up, and then there's a kink in it, where we always tease him that he decided to change his mind with the scalpel. And I've got quite a big solid lump at the bottom near my tummy button, and that causes tons of problems, because every time you wear trousers or anything, it rubs, and it becomes very red, very inflamed, and it's a bit of a mess, really. But there we go.